guys, what's up? This is Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. So in the video today, I'm going to be discussing a question I was asked by one of my fellow subscribers. So I decided to make a video answering this question. And it was in regards to how do I organize myself to study specifically during my didactic year. So what was my study schedule like, or more, what was my day like, and how do I organize myself during my didactic year? I'll be making a separate video in regards to clinical year because that's a whole different study schedule and organization of the day, but this is in regards to only my didactic year of PA school. So didactic year of your PA school is definitely by far, in my experience, and I can say in the majority experience of my classmates, was definitely by far the most hardest year of school in general. So it was very, very, very hard. In comparison to my undergraduate years, by far the most difficult year of school in general for me. And the reason is because you are learning so much information in such a short period of time. So an entire year, you are learning pharmacology, clinical medicine, pharmacology, right? Pathophysiology, anatomy, and physiology. You're on top of that also learning other classes, like for example, we had a class in regards to labs, learning how to interpret labs, different types of labs and what do they mean, what does it mean in regards to the diagnosis for the patient. We also had a class that was called Patient Encounter, which taught us how to perform physical exams, how to do specific maneuvers for specific diseases, etc. So you're taking a lot of classes in that 1 year. And for example, for my experience, I started in 2018 fall for didactic year and ended up until 2019 summer. So that entire time we were in didactic year. And then after that, you have your clinical year. But by far, definitely your didactic year is going to be the hardest one. Once you make it past your didactic year, honestly, and that's my experience, clinical year is not as hard as your didactic year. Didactic year is really, really hard. And not only that, it's, I think, the most important year in regards to your 2 years, because during your didactic year is where you kind of learn the basis and your foundation for everything. So you learn your foundation for medicine, for diseases, for pharmacology, for pathophysiology, for clinical medicine, for anatomy and physiology. So you learn your foundation for everything. And if you don't have a clear understanding of that foundation, then you're gonna struggle a lot during your clinical year PA school. So it's really important that if you understand well your pathophysiology of diseases, then you'll be able to understand why you're treating this disease a certain way, or why you're ordering specific tests for this disease if you understand that pathophysiology. Same with pharmacology. Why are you prescribing this medication over this medication? And this is where your understanding of the side effects, the patient profile, right? The mechanism of action of the medication. So that's why it's really important that you have a really good understanding of your pharmacology, your pathophysiology, and your clinical medicine. So your first year by far is the most important. And really, it's all about how you organize yourself. Your time management skills is something that's really important in PA school for both your didactic year and clinical year. Specifically, I would say for your didactic year, because you have so many classes, and then on top of that, you have so many exams. So during my didactic year, I had about an exam every week. If not, I had some weeks even 4 exams per week. So on average, I would say I had an exam every week, and if not, I had an exam certain weeks, like 4 exams. So we had this thing in my program where it was called Black Monday. We would have 4 exams on that Black Monday, and it was a 4 huge credit classes. So it was your clinical medicine, introduction to clinical medicine class. It was your pharmacology class, your pathophysiology class, and then the 4th one was like our patient encounter class, which is where they teach us the physical exams, findings, etc. So we would have those 4 exams on a Black Monday, for example. And so sometimes, you know, it was very nerve-wracking, specifically when you're taking all these exams that same day. And then on top of that, during the week, right, you would have classes, you would have exams, and class, we went to class Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from like 8 to 4, 5, 6 p.m. sometimes, and then Tuesdays and Wednesdays we had labs. And then, you know, sometimes it leaves very little amount of time in regards to studying. And it's really important that you study, like I said, and you know your things, not in order to pass your classes, but just to make sure that you are ensuring that you learn your information well and you are making a good foundation or basis for medicine. So, going back to the reason of this video, right? Why or how did I schedule my day in regards to my didactic year? So what I did is, for example, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, which were like my long days, I would get out sometimes around 5 or 6, and then at 6, from 6 to around 10, 11 would be pushing it, I would study. So I would actually stay in the library. And this was before COVID era. So I would get out of class, stay in the library, study from 6 to 11. And one of my classmates taught me something that really helped me out during didactic year, and hopefully it'll help you guys out. So she called this. So pregame was preparing yourself for the information, so preparing yourself, reading, going through the lectures before the class starts, and then game is when you're in the lecture, right? And then post-game is going over the information again the third time after class. So what I would do, for example, that Sunday is that I would prepare myself before class. So before I started class, I would prepare myself over pathophysiology. So most of my professors would post their PowerPoints onto Blackboard. I was able to download them, and then I would prepare myself before class. So I would prepare myself in regards to pathophysiology, introduction to clinical medicine, I would prepare myself with pharmacology, and then also patient encounter, and then sometimes we had anatomy and physiology also. So I prepare myself for those classes. That way, during class, I had already an understanding of what was going on, and it wasn't the first time I was like listening or seeing this stuff, right? So after class, around 5 or 6, then I would post game. I would try to dedicate about an hour to each class, and if I didn't have, for example, if I left at 11 and I didn't finish one class, then the next day, like that Tuesday, I would have lab, and lab for us was only like a few hours, like 3 hours. After lab, I would go and finish post-gaming, okay? So for example, it's Tuesday, I have my anatomy lab, so then we would go to lab, and then usually I would get out of lab like at 12, and then, for example, I would just post-game. So whatever I didn't finish on Monday, I would finish post-gaming that Tuesday. So then I finished post-gaming, say I had one class I didn't go over, so I would finish post-gaming, so I would finish at 1, and then I would start all over again. So
another one.
I would pre-game for the classes on Wednesday. So from 1 to like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, most of the time it was still 10, from 1 to 10, I would pre-game for these classes. And also if there were certain things that I just did not understand, like anatomy was definitely one of the classes that I struggled a lot during my first and second semester, just in general during my didactic year, I would spend a little bit more time on this. So I would just make sure that I'm studying for that and just spending time for that until 10. So pre-gaming for the classes for Wednesday, and then I would repeat the same things.
Another one.
So I would do that same thing throughout the week. And on the weekends, like Saturday, if I had time, I would spend time, of course, with my family, friends, but of course, the majority of the time I was studying, going over information that I didn't understand during the week or I was having trouble with. So that was kind of how I studied for didactic year of PA school. Is I did the pregame, game, postgame, okay? And I did that for all my classes. One thing I do not recommend is to not spend too much time on one class. You want to make sure that you treat all classes the same. And that was one of the things that I did during my first semester, which did not help me out, is that I wasn't doing well in one class, so I started focusing a lot on that class, and then I started not focusing on these other classes, and then I started doing bad on these other classes, and it was just a mess. You want to make sure that you're ensuring that you put an appropriate amount of time for each class. Like I said, and like I thought that 1 hour would be enough to post-game for the classes or pre-game for the classes. And then if there were certain things that I just was not very comfortable with, then for these classes, I would spend a little bit more time on that subject. For example, one of the things I struggled a lot during PA school was, like I said, anatomy and physiology, so I would spend a lot of time on that. Also, kidneys, like when we were going over the physiology and the pathophysiology of certain kidney disorders, like your metabolic disorders and stuff like that, like metabolic acidosis. So it was something that I struggled with a lot. And so I made sure that I spent a little bit more time in regards to this so I can ensure that I knew it well. And then on the weekends, what I would do is I would try to study as much as I can also, because sometimes during the week, of course, you're just really exhausted. So sometimes it's hard to keep up with all that. And sometimes I would just say, you know what, I'm going to leave early today, only study till 9, and then I'll go home, and then I would make up for that on the weekend. Now, when it came down to exams, like specifically like my Black Monday, so if I had a Black Monday coming up, then I would start studying, like hardcore studying, that Friday. So I would start studying that Friday, all day Saturday, and then all day Sunday, and then make sure that I'm ready to take the exam on Monday. So that was only whenever I had like my Black Mondays, which were like 4 exams on Mondays. But yeah, that was basically my study schedule. Like I said, pre-gaming, gaming, post-gaming, and then repeating the same thing over and over again throughout the week. Weekends, I would make sure, especially that Saturday, I would catch up on anything I didn't catch up during the week, or just certain things I didn't feel comfortable with. And then that Sunday, I would just start pre-gaming for that Monday. And on days that I had exams, like on Mondays, or my Black Mondays, where I had 4 exams, and I would start studying that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But you have to keep in mind though that I have been studying all along for the exams, because I've been pre-gaming, gaming, and post-gaming. I'm just going to do a little bit more hardcore studying that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Friday, I would get out. Sometimes Fridays were our shortest days, so we would get out sometimes like at 3. There were certain semesters where we got out a little bit later, but the majority of the time we got out earlier. So I would start studying earlier. So sometimes if we got out at 3, start studying at 3, and of course take a break for lunch or dinner, and then study till like 10 or 11. I really did not try to study past 11, and the reason why is because you could really see and tell how the lack of sleep affects you. And it definitely did affect me, my grades. One of my classmates, she was really good at pulling all-nighters, and she would do really well in her exams. And so I thought that maybe since it's working for her, I decided to do it for myself. It did not work for me at all. And so I quickly learned that was not the thing for me, and sleeping is my thing. And I can say the same thing for majority of my classmates, is sleeping is what helps them. And not only that, it really relaxes you, because when you're taking your exam, you get nervous, because I would see a lot of my classmates, not a lot, but some that would have like anxious breakdowns before taking an exam, because they're just so nervous. And so sleeping is really going to help you not only ensure that everything that you're learning stays in your brain, but also calm you down with your nerves. So I always make sure that I try not to stay awake past 11. I would try to be in bed by 11 and go to sleep by 11. Even on days that I had exams, I really try to go to sleep even earlier. So on days that I had exams, I would try to go to sleep by 10 the latest, because I wanted to make sure that I had slept well and I had enough sleep. Same for when I took my PANCE. I actually went to sleep also that day by 10. I was in bed by 10. I went to sleep because I wanted to make sure I had a good night of sleep before I took my exam. Alright guys, as always, I hope you guys liked this video. If you have any questions for me or any comments, make sure you comment below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.